Hi, so in this video I'm going to give a very brief introduction to the idea of opportunity cost, which is a very important topic in economics. In fact, much of economics boils down to opportunity cost because we're thinking of how we best allocate our resources, and so because we have a finite number of resources in an economy, it's going to boil down to a lot of trade-offs, and this is what we think of when we think of opportunity cost. It's how we trade off different resources. And on that note, our actual definition of opportunity cost, there are lots of different ways of phrasing it, but in this video I'll use this one, and it's the cost of the next best alternative foregone when making a decision. So what do we mean by the cost of the next best alternative foregone? Well, we can use a brief example, and you'll be able to find loads of examples online, I think, but they maybe aren't the most clear, many of them. So I'll try to be as clear as possible by giving a very simple example to start off. And let's imagine that we are a consumer who has £50 and that we only have two options to choose from. And with this £50, we can buy a nice meal that costs £50, or we can go and say visit a friend. Let's visit a friend and we're going to have to spend £50 on a train ticket. So this is obviously very simple, that we're just going to exhaust all our money on one of these two options, and we have no other alternative of how we can spend this money. These are our two choices. We can either spend £50 on a meal, or we can spend £50 on a train journey to go visit a friend. And so let's consider that we choose to spend £50 on a meal. We get a Domino's pizza, loads of sides, be pretty expensive meal for 50 quid. And so we've chosen our meal. Then the cost of the next best alternative foregone is just going to be this train journey, because we had £50, we spent our whole £50 on this meal, which means we have nothing left to spend on this train journey. So this has been foregone. We've made a decision, we're choosing our meal, and the cost of this is whatever we valued this train ticket at. We may, if we had infinite amount of money, we may have been willing to spend, say, £70 to visit our friend. We may really want to visit this friend, but perhaps we actually value this meal at £100. This is the amount of utility we get out of it. And if this is a bit confusing, hopefully it will make a bit more sense with a few more examples. But the idea is that we get utility from the meal and we get utility from this train journey. Both of them cost £50, their actual price is £50, but the benefits we get out of them, the actual utility gained as a person, may differ greatly. So our meal, we may have been willing to spend £100, but it only costs 50, and for the train we may have been willing to spend £70, but it only costs 50. But at the end of the day, we had to make a decision because we had a finite number of resources. We only had £50, so we could only buy one. And clearly, since this meal is giving us more utility, it's worth more to us, we choose the meal. But the opportunity cost is the cost of this train journey, because we haven't chosen it. So this is our next best alternative foregone. How we can introduce this idea of our next best alternative foregone? Well, there are loads of other things we could have actually spent this £50 on. Let's consider we could have also invested £50. Invest £50, we could have bought some shares or some stocks or whatever. We could have just kept £50 in cash, we could have just stuck that in our wallet for another day. We could have bought a different meal. Let's say different meal. Instead of buying a Domino's, we could have spent 50 quid on a load of salad or something. And the point to note is that all of these things, let's assume that these things are worth a lot less to us than the train journey and the meal we did actually buy. So if we'd invested our £50, we may in the future have got a big benefit, but right now I'm really hungry, so I wanted to spend it. This investment was only actually worth £40 to me, so it wasn't really worth it. Keeping it in cash is £50, well, this is worth £50 to me, because I would have just had that in my wallet and I could have spent the £50 another day. And buying a different meal, buying a load of salad, maybe that was worth £20. I would have only been willing to pay £20 for that salad, so it wasn't really worth £50. And if we do this exercise, we notice that we would still choose our meal for £50, our Domino's pizza, and the next best alternative would still have been the train. This was still worth £70 to us, but unfortunately for the train, or whoever gets the money from the train fare, our Domino's meal was still worth more. So we still choose the Domino's meal, but we have foregone this train journey. We have also foregone this investment. We've also foregone holding the money in cash. We've also foregone the different meal. We've foregone an infinite number of things we could have done with this £50, but the actual opportunity cost, which is, if we get back to what this video is actually about, the opportunity cost is only the cost of the next best alternative. So the opportunity cost is only the cost of losing this train journey. We're not going to add up the £70 that's lost from the train journey, the £40 from the investment, the £50 from cash, and so on. The opportunity cost is only worried about the next best alternative, and that's why this next best alternative is in this definition. It means that we don't have to think of every single possible way we could have spent our money, because, as we know, there's an infinite number of ways we could spend our money. All we need to know about is the next best alternative. And I say all we need to know about, it may often be very difficult to think which one is the next best alternative, but that is an issue for actually practically implementing this. What this video is meant to give you, and what we usually use in economics, in economic theory, that we're just thinking of the concept of opportunity cost. When we're not just in economic theory and we're, say, a government that's choosing, do I want to spend 100 billion on HS2, or do I want to spend 50 billion on Crossrail, and we have big, say, transport investments, this is very difficult for a government to decide, where do I invest my money? What is the next best alternative? What actual benefit do I get from HS2? What benefit do I get from Crossrail? It can be very difficult to do, and I would not be able to cover that in a simple video like this. What I hope that this has shown you is just a basic idea of what we mean by opportunity cost, and if it isn't clear in a future video, I will try to make a few more examples. So check out the playlist, and maybe I've already made that video now, or do subscribe if I haven't yet to do it, and you can stay posted on my future videos, and please do leave a like rating if this video was at all